done a bit more work on my terrace. Let me show you. I've got this cute little plant that the neighbor left when he moved out that I have repotted, and it is doing great. I don't know what it is, so if anyone knows what it is, let me know, because he just left it. Didn't tell me anything about it. So garden's almost done for the year, but I took some of the stuff that I had in the pond out and added some new stuff to the pond. So ajuga, I don't know how it's pronounced, the stuff. I had two varieties planted in here over the past few years, and they are not doing well. Hi, neighbor. And I have taken some creeping Jenny that I had in the pond. There's creeping Jenny up there, and have a bunch of it here in these floating rings. I had 2 sets of 3 of these floating rings, but I picked up these I'm forgetting what their name, brassica something, commonly called pondweed, from a local waterway. Kendrick's Cove, I believe is the name of it. So I had to remove a whole set of these to make room for that, because the leaves on that are pretty big. So I had all this creeping Jenny that I had taken out of the 3 of these that I removed, and because my ground cover here, whatever the name of it's called, has been doing so poorly this year, I decided to plant the creeping Jenny. By plant, I mean I threw it on the ground, and then I threw some topsoil. Actually, this is garden soil on top of it. And as you can see, it's already starting to poke up through. It's real hardy stuff, basically impossible to kill. So if it takes over, I'm okay with that. I'm a little worried about it growing into my rock area, but I can just hand pull it. Like, here's some of the ground cover that has creeped over here, which I'm okay with. I was hoping it would all take over the grass, because I hate grass, but it hasn't done that. I'll keep trying. But I also grabbed 3 more bags of gravel, and then I had 2 more bags of gravel. Actually, I had 3 bags of gravel just laying around. So I added more gravel. So it's all looking really nice up here now. So lots more gravel. It's filled out. This batch of gravel is a little lighter in color, more gray than the old gravel. You can see the old gravel had more brown in it. It's my experience that this white part weathers off over time, and it picks up a more natural looking color over time. I moved some plants around. I had planted that creeping phlox too close to this catmint plant, so it was here, and I moved it over there. And then I bought that thing a few years ago, and I didn't save the tag, so I have no idea what it is, but it has little purple flowers. The phlox is kind of a violet, no, probably more magenta colored flower. This has a lavender flower. That's a pussy willow that was extremely overgrown. It was, before I did all this, that pussy willow was massive and came all the way out to like here. It had like branches that were probably 6 inches thick. So I cut it back to the base, low enough that I could cover it with mulch, and it's starting to come back out, although I need to do some pruning on it. It's really struggling because it's under this this large hemlock, I think it's a hemlock, that I love. So I had to make a choice if I wanted the pussy willow more or the hemlock more. I wanted the hemlock more because it gives me shade. But I put down new mulch because it's getting to be almost leaf season. So I wanted to have that fresh and good to go, so that when I started leaf blowing, I can just hose it down real quick, lightly, get it wet before I leaf blow, and then it will mat down and stick, and that way I can blow the leaves off of it pretty easily. Same thing for this stone. I wanted to get it down before leaves started falling so it can settle in a bit, because the gravel will get blown by my leaf blower on high, but once it settles in and it rains a few times, it does that less. So this is the way it's looking now. And as you can see, I've added some plants to that thing, which I also didn't. I really should start saving tags since I can't remember what anything is. And I put more gravel up there. You can see the new gravel is lighter, but I think it will eventually blend in. I had one of these Veronicas. This is, I think, Georgia Blue. I could be wrong. Veronica. I had one of these over there above the catmint, but I've decided that I don't really want to concentrate on that border over there much because it's not really in an area where I look. But I have this little bed up here, which I see a lot. So I've moved it up here along with these naturalized plants that I took from way up on the hill up there. If I recall, they're called trout lilies or something like that. They're kind of a rare Vermont natural plant, so it's kind of cool to find those. They're struggling a little bit because they like to be basically in a leafy area with leaf litter in the forest. And this is a little more manicured than they like, and it gets more sun than they like, so they struggle in the summer, but they look beautiful in the spring, and they'll even come back a little bit in the fall. I had new mulch up here too, and then I took some irises from another location and put them there. They're not water iris, they're a land iris, so I don't know if they'll survive. The marsh marigold always does that in the summer. That's a normal thing. It comes back in the fall. It hates heat. And then my pond, you can see I've got Seraph out with me. She loves coming out. I'm going to get a sip of my coffee here real quick. But the pond has new stuff in it. Put down more of these large white stones, which are super expensive, but I've just been holding onto the bag for like 3 years now, and there's no point in not putting them down. That's a weed that turns into a wildflower that has kind of been taking over down here. So this, honestly, might get the chemical warfare here soon. The Dutch irises are done for the season. They just need to be trimmed down. I haven't done that yet. But the pond is looking really nice with the newly scavenged wild plants from local waterways and side of the road. This is a beautiful side of the road flower that grows in this area. It gets about 2 feet tall, and it has a beautiful purple bloom that you can see all over the sides of the highways in Vermont and southern New Hampshire. So I had pulled it from the side of the road. It was at the end of its season with the blooms on it already. It died back. I cut it back, and now it's coming up again, which I'm surprised by. I really thought that I might get lucky and it would just come back next year, but it's coming back this year, so that was a boon. I did a little bit of pruning of my creeping Jenny up in my falls because it had gotten a little out of hand. It was taking over 2 whole areas of the cascade, and which I love, but in the fall you have to pick all the leaves and sticks out of that because it's not an area that I can put a net over. I have to buy a new net this season because my old net lasted 3 years and only cost $10, so I don't hold any grudge for that. It's on my Amazon. It's sitting in the cart right now with the other things I can't afford to buy on Amazon. As you can see, my water's super crystal clear. You can see all the way down to the very bottom of the pond. Like you can see those hose clamps. That's sitting on the bottom. That's like almost 2 feet down. And the water is just absolutely perfect. Which I'm very pleased with. And that's because I got basically 2/3 to 3/4 of the surface covered now. And that's all a pond needs to be happy, is it needs the surface covered with plants. These plants use the nutrients in the water, you know, all the earthworms that fall into their death from the hill here. Every time it rains, they're trying to escape the rainwater and they think they're going to get away, but then they fall into the pond. It's disgusting. But it's a cycle of life, and it works out well. As you can see, my water looks great. The moss is really struggling, and that's because I have those invasive earthworms all in here. The soil is just depleted from those Asian jumping worms, I think they're called. And what they do is they undermine the soil for the moss. Moss needs a fairly compacted substrate to stick to, and they make just a crumbly mess, and then the moss can't adhere to it. So unfortunately, moss and Asiatic jumping worms just don't coexist. But I'm pretty happy with it. It looks pretty good. Right down here and give you the overview again. I'm gonna put a garden flag out, and it's looking pretty decent. Of course, it's fall now, so it'll be covered in leaves soon, and then after that it'll be covered in snow. But I've got another month or two of enjoying it out here. I was really hoping to get a fire pit this year, but it just couldn't happen with all the other stuff that I had to buy. So if anyone has a small fire pit they'd like to send my way, that would be fantastic. Seraph's going for an adventure at the end of the leash, so I gotta go see what she's up to, and then I'm off for the rest of my day.